Hi folks, a little video today on controlling pressure and building confidence during tournament rounds. So there's really two main things I'm going to talk to you about today about doing exactly that. I'm going to cover 2 points. The first point is going to be managing expectations, and the second point is going to be controlling heart rate when you're out on the golf course. Now, one of them is done really before you get to the golf course, and the other is done when you're out there playing. So I'll talk to you about the preparation of going into a tournament very briefly. Um, Managing expectations. If you think of really the balance in your confidence, it's really your performance versus your expectations. If you're performing above your expectations, you're probably going to feel quite confident. If you're performing under your expectations, you're probably going to be more anxious. You're not going to be particularly confident. So let's talk a little bit about controlling your expectation, managing your expectations first. I see this happening quite a lot. You'll see somebody warming up on the driving range and they'll stand there with their driver and they're kind of hitting, let's say they're hitting slices, missing to the right more than half the time. Because they're not really picking a specific target on the driving range. It's a wide open space, they're hitting, there's no consequence. They're really after like a feeling of the body's moving as or feels good. They're not really paying too much attention to where the ball's finishing. And you'll see that same player stand on the first tee, and there might be like a tight out of bounds or a tight hazard down the right side, and they hit it in there, and they're absolutely blown away that they've hit it in the hazard. And really, having that expectation of hitting it straight when they've hit more than half their shots down the right on the driving range doesn't really add up. You see some people somewhat shocked that they've hit that shot, and you can say, well, you hit that shot on the range more than half the time. They just didn't really realise it. So this goes into the quality of your practice, which I don't want to get into too much right now because the video will just be way too long. But it's really important that you recognise your strengths and weaknesses when you're playing and when you're practicing, so that if you have got a miss that may be to the right, you kind of allow for it, and if you hit the shot, it's not such a crashing down of that confidence and self-belief, because you're kind of somewhat already accepted that you may hit that shot. I've been accused of in the past of this being somewhat a negative, like a negative mindset. My argument to that is, if you're half expecting it and you hit it, it's not such a shock. It's not such a shock to the system that you've done it. That kind of leaves your mind a bit scrambled for the next few shots. If you've got that shot in your bag and you've not fixed it in practice, and you hit it on the golf course, if you're aware that you have that shot in the bag, it's not such a blow to the confidence, to the ego, and you'll do a much better job of getting on with it when you're out there. So that is briefly a little bit about managing expectations. If you have a bad shot in your game, you really should be looking at some coaching to fix that particular problem. If you know that causes you a lot of drop shots on the golf course. Going into the other aspect of controlling your emotions, controlling your heart rate, controlling the overall rhythm of your game. One thing you can do is, and I'm filming this the week after Sergio had the amazing win at Augusta, and I'm sure a lot of you noticed how he was always last to the tee. Justin Rose was always waiting for him to arrive to the tee. He was doing everything very kind of slowly, deliberately, and that's really an effort to kind of control his emotions, to stay calm, keep his heart rate down. How I relate that to your average golfer, and I see this quite a lot, is for example, someone's late to the golf course and they're rushing around, they're getting the clubs out of the car, they're rushing to the first tee, and they're kind of flustered, the heart rate's up because they're physically exerting themselves, getting to the first tee on time or whatever. It's pretty unlikely that you're then going to set up to a golf ball and make a nice smooth golf swing, because your rhythm, your overall rhythm of the way you have been operating up until that point hasn't been like that. It's been frantic. It's been a bit, if you're driving to the course and you're stuck in a bit of traffic or whatever, the anxiety's building, and that builds and builds and builds and builds up until that point where you hit that first shot. You might hit a bad shot, then your playing partners are waiting for you. It's not a nice way to feel. So in order to keep your heart rate down and manage the stresses when you're out there, is really to try and bring the whole rhythm of what you're doing down before. So this is why it's always beneficial to get to the course in plenty of time. Take your time in terms of choosing a club and making some nice smooth practice swings, stepping into the ball maybe a little bit slower, and that's going to give you the opportunity to control your heart rate and operate a little bit better under the stress of competitive golf. Now the question that you'll ask now is, well, surely that's going to slow play down. Play's already too slow in general. When people are playing and they're out there for 4.5, 5.5, 6 hours, it's a bit ridiculous. So this is where it gets a little more difficult. So this is where you've got to do things so that you have plenty of time to adjust. So let's say that we're walking between shots. If you try and get to your ball before all of your playing partners, that gives you enough time to then get to the ball and then start to slow things down again. So you slow your heart rate down and you start operating in a slower, more maybe a meticulous way, so that you're controlling your heart rate and controlling the speed at which you do things. So in that little period of between when you say put your golf bag down and hit the shot, that's when you want to really be trying to slow everything down again. Once you've hit the shot, get to your ball as quick as you can so you're keeping up the pace of play. Try and get to your ball faster than your playing partner, so you've got that little bit of time to, just a few seconds, to get your breathing under control again, get your heart rate down, and just managing that throughout the round. It's something that Sergio did really well in the final round, particular of the Masters. It's something that you can copy. So manage your expectations and control your heart rate. You're going to do a much better job of playing under pressure and building confidence.